Thank you for that. Entrance, that's some funky entrance music. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Patricia, Leslie, for making this happen this morning. So after all those buttons of pushing and technicalities, center. Hi, everybody watching. How are you this morning? Can't see you all, but I saw a little bit of you on Facebook. It's great to be with you. Today's talk is Love is Everything. And in preparing for this talk, for some reason, the song by the Miracles was coming up for me. Maybe you know it. I'm just a love machine and I don't work for nobody but you. Boop, boop. I'm just a, you know, that song. And I thought, well, that's probably not appropriate for today's talk. So then I was thinking about the Beatles. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. And I love the way they change that. Like talk about saying the same thing with a different sentence though. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Like they're so brilliant. And so I was just basking in that song and thinking about today's talk and how love has been such a transformational thing in my life over the last couple of years. And I'll talk a little bit about that journey from, you know, up here, the understanding, thinking, calculating mind into the heart. But what also inspired today's talk is that in the liturgical calendar, and liturgy is a rite of or body of rites prescribed for public worship. So it's a customary repertoire of ideas, phrases, or observances. So right now, in leading up to Christmas, the 4 Sundays prior to Christmas is a traditional liturgical calendar celebration known as Advent. And we haven't talked about that much here at Unity of Nanaimo, but Advent on the first Sunday is hope. On the second Sunday, which would have been last week, is peace. Today's Sunday is love. And then next Sunday is joy. And then we have Christmas. So that happens every year. And I can remember as a kid growing up, my parents were practicing Catholics. And so we had one of those wreaths on our dinner table with 4 candles, and we lit the candle every night. And then every Sunday you added the next candle. So week 2 would be 2 candles, week 3 would be 3, and week 4 would be the 4th candle. And I always felt bad for the first candle because by the time we got to the end of week 4, it was like this, you know, there was this much left of it. And the 4th candle was still like this mighty candle that, you know, so my mom would reuse the 4th candle for next year as the candle number 1. She was very good at reusing things. But I remember that, and I remember the prayers and all of the ritual around that. And I'll be honest, I didn't really understand it. And it's only now that I'm beginning to understand a lot of these things, a lot of these faith practices that are in the world. And certainly the Catholics aren't the only one that use Advent, and they're not, you know, it's not the Christian fundamentalists or Catholics are not the only ones that practice rituals this time of year. Of course, we have Hanukkah right now, and I believe Hanukkah changes from year to year as to what days it falls on, and I believe we're in it now. So, you know, there's all sorts of these practices around the world, and I think what they all come back to is love, is that we're in this place of celebrating, of being together, of sharing, and hopefully of putting love into the world. And I was thinking about, well, how do we do that? How can we put more love into the world? And maybe even like, what is love? How do we get to that place of love? And of course, we have many teachers that are, you know, alive and well today and from the past that have talked a great deal about love and about having love in our lives. And I'd like to share a little bit of a story on how where I am now reflects on how love has shown up in my life. And as I mentioned earlier, there's that journey from here to the heart. And if we look at the 12 powers, up here is that understanding. So it's the front forebrain. It gives us the ability to figure stuff out, like to use a map, to think, to calculate, to navigate through things. That's one side of it. But it also gives us the ability to begin to understand our own spiritual awareness, our own spiritual being. And then this is what's amazing, is once we tune into that spiritual side, is we can begin the journey from here into the heart. And of course, love is one of our 12 powers, and it resides in the heart. So once we start connecting that spiritual side with what's in here, then it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world for us. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that. And the story I'd like to share is back when I met my wife, Leslie, we had been working on film sets from time to time, and we would run into each other. And eventually I got the courage to find out more about her and see if I could ask her out on a date. She refused the first time. And then I was persistent though, so I asked her again, and she accepted. And I went to pick her up. And this is one of those moments in life where, and maybe this has happened for you, where you don't forget it. You just don't forget what happened. So I went to the front door and I knocked on the door. I was very nervous. And she opened the front door and she just had this beautiful smile, this radiant smile on her face. And I had an out-of-body experience. I actually remember, like it was yesterday, where it felt like I had left my body and I was looking down from behind me, like up here. I was looking down on the two of us and I could see us. And it seems like it was probably 20 or 30 seconds that I just stood there, probably with this look on my face. I know it wasn't that long, and my heart was racing. And I knew in that moment that I had met not only the person I wanted to be with, met my match. I was done. There was no coming back from that experience. And I actually wanted to ask her to marry me on the spot, first date, but I didn't, because I thought that might scare her away. So I waited till the second date and I asked her to marry me. And like when I asked her out the first time, she said no. And so I just persisted, and she gave me all of these reasons. The first one was I was too young. She said, I'm too young. She was 24 at the time, and it was her birthday in a couple of weeks. She'd be 25. So I waited till her birthday and I asked her again. And I was a poor musician. I was a poor rock musician, so I had no money. And her excuse this time was, well, not till you have a proper ring. And I was like, oh man. So I waited and saved up from February till December of that year. And at Christmas time, I asked her with a proper ring, and she accepted. And the rest is, well, we're here today together. My point is that moment when we connected, when I think back now and the spiritual journey I've been on, that connection, that move from here to here has been so important. And there's some great quotes that I have for this. One of them comes from Emmett Fox, and he talks about the ability to bring love into everything. And when I think about that, I think of that moment on the doorstep of what if I could bring that feeling, that experience into everything I do. And I'm certainly not there. It's not the way it works, unfortunately. But what if I could do that? What if I could bring that awareness, that out-of-body experience where I was having this magical thing happen to me? And Emmett says, there is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer, no gulf that enough love will not bridge. If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. So I'm going to say that again, just to make sure we all heard it, and even, that I heard it. If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. That's a pretty bold statement and a pretty good reason to open ourselves up to love and to bring more love into the world. And I follow that with some text from scripture. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And I see that in two forms. There's the one being, how can I love somebody else if it doesn't start here? So how could you love and give love to someone else when you don't actually, if you're actually in a place where you don't love yourself? So I believe it's critical in order for us to share love that we need to start here. We need to start with ourselves and bring love and embody love within us. But I also see it as a second piece. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So once we've conjured up this ability to love ourselves, what if we were then to love everybody else as if they were us? Like we loved them as if they were us, that oneness, that togetherness. What if we brought that to the table? As Emmett Fox says, if only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. And I guess what's landing for me is the title of today's talk, that love is everything. To quote the Beatles, all you need is love. It's becoming truer and truer for me as I move forward in life. And I don't know whether that's an age thing or not, because there's certainly younger people than myself that have that ability, that already have that wisdom. And so maybe it's something that you're maybe born with, but it's also something that I believe you can cultivate, that you can actually bring more of with that understanding up here, that spiritual understanding and awareness, and bringing yourself down into that presence. There's also another scripture writing that I love, which is, my peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. And that's the same thing, isn't it? That's bringing to the table something from yourself and sharing it and giving it to others. And certainly this time of year with Christmas, that's what this is all about, isn't it? Is the ability to share. And I know for kids, I know myself as a kid, it was like, hey, what am I getting under the tree? But I've moved beyond that now. There's a funny thing that happens in our house is Leslie ends up re-gifting me the same stuff every year because I kind of open it and I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm just not that into gifts. So sometimes some of the stuff I get just goes into a bag in the corner, and then she the next year gets it and rewraps it and puts it under the tree. And I'm like, oh, wow, look at this. This is fantastic. And it saves money, which is a great thing. But it's because I've got to that place where that stuff isn't what's important anymore. It's what can I share? What can I bring to the table? How can we be more for others? And it's not easy to do. I understand that. I have many days where that's not my agenda for the day. My agenda for the day is me. And it takes something to get myself out of that space. And it usually starts with my morning practice, with being able to drop down into the heart and to begin to open that up. So my invitation this week for all of us is that love is everything. Love has all of the power that we need to live the life that we want to live, to be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. And it starts with ourselves. And so what can you put into place for yourself that would allow you to be that going forward? What can you do over the next couple of days, over the next week, over the next few weeks that would allow you to open up that space, to open up more love from within and love for yourself, taking time for yourself so that you have the depth in which to share. So I invite you now all to join me. We'll do a little meditation and we'll maybe practice a little bit of dropping down into our heart space and opening up and feeling that energy, feeling that presence of love. So here we go. So wherever you are, if you wouldn't mind either sitting or laying down, however that is, if you're standing, just make sure that your spine is straight and your neck is straight, and if you're sitting, just sit upright. If you're laying down, just make sure you're not crooked, and just straighten yourself out. And just allow yourself to be breathed. Allow that breath of life to just flow through you. We go through the whole day without thinking about our breath, and it just happens automatically. So just allow that to be in the perfect flow now. And I'd love for you to just take your right hand and just place it on your forehead and just connect with that understanding, that space of understanding, where we begin that spiritual connection, that spiritual opening. And if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. If that's uncomfortable, just find a spot a couple of feet in front of you on the ground and just give it your gaze. And just allow that energy to flow with your breath, feeling your hand on your forehead. And then I just invite you to gently lift your hand off and begin to bring it down and follow down and bring that to your heart. Just realizing the connection we made, that we went from the forehead, our place of understanding, into our heart, our place for love. And maybe just invite a couple of deep breaths into your heart space. And as you exhale, you can just drop your shoulders and feel that presence, feel that energy. Your heart pumping over 100,000 times a day. All of that energy that it's pushing into your body, allowing the blood to flow, and that energy pouring out from you to others. And also that energy accepting that love energy from others. Let's just hang here for a moment together. Now I'm going to invite you to take your left hand and gently place it on your belly. And focus your breathing through your nose so that you can feel your belly rise and fall with every breath. And this is our place of wisdom. You know, those butterflies in your stomach, those jitters we sometimes get when we don't think we're in the right spot or that there might be something up. This is that inherent wisdom that we have. And maybe you can imagine that there's this circular flow of energy between these three areas. Moving down from your forehead into your heart, to your belly, and coming back around in front of you, and just flowing in a circular motion. And I invite you to bring in one word that you can call upon right now. One word that you can presence for yourself in this moment. How are you feeling? Just allow that feeling to be. Now, ever so gently, bring your awareness back to the room you're in. And as you do that, think of all the people that just joined you in that friendship that we have, that unity that we have. And you can let your hands just fall away alongside your body. Maybe wiggle your fingers. Bring a nice breath in and out. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And my invitation is to just allow this love, this presence to just flow for the rest of today's service. And we'll turn things over to Nico and just bask in his loving genius. Have an amazing day. Namaste.
Letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only sets us free. There is only love.
Thank you, Nico.